We all have the ability to discern the voice of the Holy Spirit. All of us. It is natural. It is our nature. Just like the acorn was programmed to be a tree, just like the bud was programmed to be the blossom, just like the fetus was programmed to, the baby was programmed to become the human, right? We are programmed to hear God. We are programmed to hear spirit, to hear the voice of God, to hear our higher self, that internal guide, that deeper inner knowing, that internal wisdom. We're all programmed to hear this naturally. The thing is that most of us were not taught this, and most of us have been programmed to follow the thought system of fear. And the thought system of fear, or the egoic self-construct, cannot hear the voice of the Holy Spirit. So the first thing that you want to do to hear the voice of spirit, or of your internal guide, your internal teacher, is first to step away from the thought system that is the survival mind, the egoic mind, and to open up your heart. So you get out of your head, out of your logical mind, out of your survival mind, and you open up your heart. And you can try that right now with me. Okay? So you get out of your head and you open up your heart. And then what I do is I take a step back in my consciousness. So I'm not here in the center where I'm completely identified with Erica. I take a step back and I kind of become the witness, become the observer. Why is that important? Because remember, I said the first thing we need to do is to disidentify with the thought system that's created by fear, that's rooted in fear, rooted in separation, the egoic self. And so we're going to step away from the personality self, and we're going to become the observer, the witness. Now, the observer and the witness is neutral. And that's the difference. The personality, the self-concept, is always going to be grasping at things. It's always going to be either trying to get something or trying to push away something. It's always grasping or it's always resisting, because it believes that it knows what it wants, and it has all these goals. And so it's very much invested in things going a particular way. It has an agenda. Spirit is agendaless. Spirit has no agenda. Spirit only seeks to know itself by expressing itself as love. Spirit only seeks, I'm going to say that again, to know itself to be love, to know itself to be love by having an experience of expressing itself as love. So that's the difference. Spirit never is grasping. Spirit never is resisting. Spirit is always neutral, because it knows that whatever occurs is for the highest good. It knows that whatever occurs is always helpful, no matter how undesirable the egoic self may judge it to be. The spirit knows that all things that occur are helpful. And so the spirit has no agenda other than to experience the fullness of every moment. The spirit has no agenda other than expansion. And so when we are discerning the voice of the Holy Spirit, when we are connecting to our spirit, or receiving intuition, or receiving this internal wisdom or guidance, first, I'm going to give you two different ways to do this, okay? The first way that you could discern the voice of the Holy Spirit, and this is without you trying to ask for guidance. This is just neutrally, okay? This is just like when you go throughout your day. Notice the difference between the thoughts that you think that say, I should do this, I should go brush my hair, I should walk the dog, I should call my friend, and you should. So notice the difference between I should and you should. You should call this person. You should go lock the door. You should not eat that. Begin to discern the difference between I should and you should. I should, the I is the egoic self, is the self-concept. Everything that is I or mine or my is always ego. When you hear you, and it's an intrusive thought, it's not like you were sitting there and you were trying to think about it. No, it's like you were washing the dishes and suddenly you should call this person. Or you were driving in your car, you should send that email. You is the higher self. It is the higher self that is not identified with the I, with the self-concept. And so it doesn't say I, it says you. That is your internal teacher. That is your inner guide nudging you. So that's the first step, okay? And knowing how spirit is communicating with us. Notice the difference between I thoughts and you thoughts. You thoughts, 9 times out of 10, is spirit. I thoughts, 10 times out of 10, is self-concept, is the egoic mind. So that's the first way. Now, the second thing to note is, how do I hear the voice of spirit, or how do I get this guidance? So let's say you have a question about something. Let's say that you're confused about a path to take, or whether or not to be with someone, or anything that there's like indecisiveness, that there's a choice and you're not sure which choice is best, although there is no best because everything is helpful. So whichever way it goes, it will always be best for that moment. But for the sake of what I'm trying to explain, let's just say you're trying to find the best choice or make the higher decision that would be for the highest good for all concerned. So the way that I do this and the way that I teach this is, so remember what I said in the beginning, you exit the mind that is in survival, the mind that is grasping, the mind that is avoiding, the mind that is resisting, the mind that is rooted in survival, that is perpetuated by separation. You step away from that mind, and the way that you do that is you go into your heart. So you go into your heart and you begin to expand your heart, and you feel, you can do it now, you can feel the energy of the heart. It's very pure. It's very neutral. It just wants to express itself as love. But we've been programmed to really idolize the mind and logic. And we live in this kind of hustle mentality, and it's all very masculine. It's all very logical, with God being depicted as a man and every political figure being a man, up until recently, but you get my gist. It's like we have really idolized the masculine, but not necessarily the healed masculine that is connected to the heart. We're talking about the wounded masculine that needs control and that needs to know in order to feel safe. And so it's very logical. The heart is more of a free-flowing energy. For that reason, it can be called more of a feminine energy. Think of like the masculine energy being the bones of the house, like all of the structure of the house. And then the feminine is all of the space in between. It's free-flowing, it's flexible, it's neutral. And so with the heart, we've been taught to serve the mind, to serve the logical mind. It's like you may hear an intuitive guidance to give someone $5 or to forgive someone or whatever. And the mind will say, no, they don't deserve it. Or give them $5. They're just going to go and get high with it. Or forgive them. No, they don't deserve to be forgiven. And, the mind, it's like we're constantly serving the mind, the logical mind. But the heart, like I said, just seeks to know itself as love, to express love. And so I think that one of the most important shifts that need to happen collectively is the return to the heart. And that's what Uplifted is all about. It's really inspiring the collective return to the heart. And it's not necessarily that the heart is the master and the mind is its servant. I mean, we could look at it like that, but I think that it's important for there to be a balance between the heart and the mind, where yes, we can use the mind as a tool to do the will of God on earth, just like we can use the body as a tool as well to do the will of God. But ultimately, the spirit is the master. The spirit is the one that is driving. When we connect to our heart, when we're looking to make a decision, and I want to make a special note here for my unhealed empaths. When I say to make a decision from your heart, I am not saying to enable. I am not saying to people please. I am not saying to not hold others accountable. I'm not saying any of that. I'm talking about the wise heart. Okay, because enabling toxic behavior is not a loving thing to do. It's very harmful, not only for the one being abused, but for the abuser. So people pleasing is a very harmful thing to do. It's not loving to people please. It's not loving to enable any kind of toxic behavior. So that's not what I mean by think with your heart and move from your heart space. The heart is wisdom. And if you look at like Proverbs, for example, King Solomon refers to wisdom as she. And it's funny because with ayahuasca, it's also called grandmother ayahuasca. It's like if wisdom and the heart, wisdom and the feminine, wisdom and love are one. And so when I'm talking about the heart, I'm not talking about the needy heart. I'm not talking about the codependent heart. I'm not talking about the heart that thinks it's responsible for others. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the wise heart, the wisdom of the heart that is in its power, and the heart that knows the truth. Okay. And so when we're looking to make a decision, we go to our heart, out of the mind into the heart. And then I kind of say this as like a neutralizer, neutrality, 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 neutrality. No good, no bad. No good, no bad. Why? Because what I'm doing is I'm stepping out of the egoic mind and into spirit consciousness. I'm stepping into spirit, which remember, spirit has no agenda, and spirit sees everything neutral because there is no good or bad. All things work together for good. Nothing can happen in the eyes of spirit that is bad. Okay? And so I say neutrality, no good, no bad, no good, no bad, neutrality. And I kind of just stay there in that neutral space for a moment. And then I ask my question. Now, if you ask your question and you get confused, it is because you have an agenda. You have not completely separated yourself from the survival mind, from the egoic self. So then in that case, what you do, and you can write this down, in that case, what you do is you need to envision what you don't want happening. Let's say that it's like, should I take this job or should I take that job? And you're like, okay, connecting to my heart, neutrality, no right, no wrong, no right, no wrong, no right, no wrong. You take a deep breath. And on my out breath, I receive an answer in my mind, this job or that job. But let's say that, I don't know, I get this job, but then I get that job. And I don't know, I'm getting confused. It's because perhaps unconsciously, but you have an agenda. You think that a certain job is what you want. You think that this is the job that will be better than that job. So already you are with this agenda that is creating the grasping that is not allowing you to connect to spirit because you're in the egoic mind. So in that moment, what you need to do is envision you not getting the job that you think you want the most. I'm sorry, my dog is crying. Give me one moment. So in that moment, you picture you losing the job that you think you want most. You picture you losing the relationship or the person or whatever it is that deep inside you are afraid will happen. And so you go through that story. Somebody else gets the job. The person that you're dating or in a relationship with starts seeing someone else. Or whatever it is that you don't want to happen. Whatever it is that you are avoiding or resisting or grasping, you're going to envision that play out. The fear, basically. What you think you don't want. And then, here's the key, write this down. Only when you are totally at peace with that, can you then ask again and receive true guidance. Okay? So first you need to make peace with your worst case scenarios. First, you need to literally put what you are desiring, what you are wanting, what you think is the best for you on the altar. You lay it down. And you're willing to not have it. You're willing to let it go to someone else. You're willing to trust and let it go if that's what's required. Once you make peace with that fantasy playing out in your mind, the worst case scenario, and you truly come into your power, you truly feel a sense of peace from that worst case scenario, then you go back into your heart and you ask again. Now you're in a neutral space. Now you don't have a hidden agenda. You cannot ask for guidance and have an agenda and get a clear and neutral answer from spirit because your ego will interfere. And when you are confused, you are in ego. Write that down. When you are confused, you are in ego because spirit and certainty are one. Spirit and clarity are one. They are the same thing. Confusion and ego are one. And doubt and ego are one. And this is why when Jesus went to the desert, okay, the desert was by design. What happened in the desert? He was tempted to doubt himself, meaning he was tempted to believe that he was an ego, that he was a self-concept. In the metaphysical dictionary, Satan means doubt. And he was tempted by Satan in the desert. So doubt and ego are one. You can be sure if you are confused, if you are doubting, that you are being dominated and governed by the fear-based, survival-based, lacking, egoic self-concept and mind. So, in order to ask for guidance when you need it, you need to be able to tap into your heart and you need to be able to tap into a neutral space without any agenda. Only then can you receive clear guidance. That is the most important work that you can do. And the way that you can start strengthening this ability to hear spirit is by practicing it. So all throughout the day, ask spirit, ask God, ask your inner guide, what should I eat? What should I wear? Where should I go? At what time? Step into the wisdom of the heart. Step into your neutral space and receive the answer. The more that you practice this, the better and the better you will get at listening and discerning the voice of spirit. But you have to practice it. You have to practice it. You have to do it all throughout the day. And it will get to the point, like me, in the place where I am, where you don't have to ask anymore. It's just constant. You know, that's why I'm a channel. Like the messages on TikTok and YouTube and stuff. I channel messages because they just come in. They come in all the time, all the time. You are all channelers. Channelers. You're all channelers. You know, you all have this ability. It's just covered over with the egoic mind. So the more and more that you identify as spirit, that you identify as the higher self, the Christ self, the more and more that you seek to be one with the voice of God, to view the world through the eyes of God, the more that this is the prayer of your heart and this is your true desire, like it's my only desire. Like, great. If money comes, great. If the house comes, great. If the new car comes, great. But those are toys to a toddler. I don't care. They're not important. What's important is that I'm doing the will of my Father. What's important is my awareness that I am one with God. What's important is that I can always discern the voice of God. And then I know I'm always acting for my highest good, regardless of how it may look and form. So the connection to Holy Spirit, to spirit, and to be able to really get good at this practice is the key to enlightenment and to mastery in general. Okay? So thank you all so much for being here. I love you all, and I look forward to seeing you all next time. Bye for now.